So we have some really special guests tonight. We good to go, Celia? Yes. Boy Scout Troop 437, we have Evan Campanale, Patrick Reinhardt, Adam Silhavi, and Andrew Silhavi. And they've been working on outdoor skills and overnight camping. They've been camping in the Adirondacks, on Constitution Island, in Fawnstock, and they'll be camping this weekend at West Point's Lake Frederick. I hope it's a great weekend. You guys look great in your uniforms. Thanks for coming out to say the pledge.
So, Ben, if you'll lead us in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
What's your next patch that you guys are working on?
Well, we do a lot of different things. The younger scouts have been working on a pet care patch, so they're going to be getting that soon. And
Great.
A bunch of scouts have been working on various things, including the camping merit badge.
Great.
Nice.
I hope you earn that this weekend.
Have fun.
Thanks so much for coming out.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of minutes. Public hearing of August 27th, 2014, Continental Village Fire Department lease purchase.
So moved.
All in favor?
Bye.
I vote aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Weekly Town Board meeting, August 27th, 2014.
Make motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Monthly Town Board meeting, September 4th, 2014.
So moved.
I abstain.
Second.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Special Town Board meeting of September 17th, 2014.
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed?
I abstain.
Unanimous. Committee reports. Conservation Board.
Okay, the Conservation Board met on September 9th, 14. They had a site visit earlier that day, 2 applications, the Arditi application, 200 Avery, Avery Road. This was basically to go out and check this is a site that has a pond, and there's a leak in the spillway. So basically, it was the Conservation Board's responsibility to take a look at first, what was the construction plan, the activity. The plan is basically to lower the pond 12 inches. That'll be accomplished through water float out off the spillway, out through the actual chamber, and there won't be any flooding or any issues. It'll be a controlled drain. There'll also be silt fence installed, and the board wanted to review that as well. And the plan is basically to pack it with clay and make sure at that point, obviously, that it's holding water and so forth, and then it'll be refilled again. And the disturbance is expected to be about 30 square feet. It's not expected there'll be any substantial adverse problems with it. The second application dealt with Bernstein application. This is on Lane Gate Road. This is involving an addition. This is also before the Planning Board. This is regarding an addition, about a 1,200 square foot addition to an existing 2,400 square foot facility. Basically, the board members went out, took a look at the location. For the Conservation Board, the interesting points here for them to look for is construction is close to the actual pond on the site. The actual residence is in a non-conforming, meaning basically right adjacent to a pond, which would be not something you'd be allowed to do today. So the concern, of course, is the additional building going up to make sure, in fact, that it's not going to be any kind of detrimental issues with the actual pond. Property also has scenic protection overlays and so forth, and it has some steep slopes in addition, so those matters were looked at. There were some concerns when we took a walk that day, but they were all cleared up by the applicant that evening, and it was a much better feeling for the Conservation Board as to the applicant, who they're hiring, what safety precautions are being taken and so forth, so that was seen as very positive. The board will meet next on October 14th.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Recreation.
The Philipstown Recreation Commission met on September 23rd at 7:30 p.m. The winter book will be out on October 22nd. Registration will open on October 27th for residents and November 3rd for non-residents. The department is always in search of new program ideas. If you have an activity or specialty you would like to share with the community, please send your proposal to amber@philipstownrecreation.com. The department hosted a senior luncheon on October 1st with about 80 attendees. There will be another senior luncheon on November 19th. The pavilion at Philipstown Park has officially broken ground. The septic system has been installed, and the foundation for the building has been poured. Progress is moving along nicely. The Castle to River Run, which was scheduled to be held on October 6th, has been canceled due to administrative reasons. Look for an announcement on the spring race by the end of the year. The Winter Carnival will be held on February 7th, 2015. The committee has been planning the event. They plan to hold a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce to see how to extend the event onto Main Street. Volunteers are needed. Please contact Amber for more information. The ice rink will need to be set up in October. The board should go down before it gets too cold. There is a real need for volunteers to help with this process and general maintenance of the rink throughout the season. If you are interested, please contact Amber. The sidewalk outside the back of the building was ripped up and reinstalled as a ramp. There was a discussion as to what the next steps are for the fields at Philipstown Park. It was the general consensus that something needs to be done to improve the quality. The commission is going to form a committee to come up with a potential plan for all the fields. This includes the new potential field at Philipstown Community Center. The next meeting of the Recreation Commission is scheduled for October 28th at 7:30 p.m.
Thanks, John. Recycling?
Nothing new on the recycling front. John will report on the generator, I'm sure, later.
Yep.
Planning Board.
Okay, the planning board met on September 18th. Basically, there are 4 applications before them. The application ongoing, this is 279 Route 9, Cold Spring. That night, there was a public hearing for site plan application. This is a minor site plan to construct a single-family home on a 10-acre parcel. Concerns, of course, outlined were the residence layout plan, the driveway access to the Route 301, and the well septic placement. The planning board took a look also at the revised planting plan, and obviously commitments were made to maintain the town's height requirement of no more than 40 feet. North Highlands Fire Company commented the driveway was modified to provide turnaround and at the end of the driveway. The fire department also commented they'd like to see a 10,000-gallon water storage for fire service. Also, the stormwater pollution prevention plan. This is an erosion sediment control plan, which is looked at as well, and that was revised because of steep slopes disturbance issues. Plans were revised to indicate basically the limits on the disturbance there as well. The planning board is taking a look at adopted the negative secret declaration and also adopted the site plan. The second application was the Wood application. This is a site plan application. This is 316 Old West Road, Garrison. This is an ongoing. Basically, the board was to adopt the negative secret declaration, also to declare a lead agency and approve the site plan. The Skanka Realty, this is an ongoing, this is an amended site plan. This is Lot 4 on Lady Blue Devil Lane, Cold Spring. This is a request for an extension. This is the submittal and so forth with regards to the review revealed insufficient, basically, building code standards. Our building code inspector, Kevin Donahue, basically stated that they needed an additional time and that they would be allowed to do so under the zoning code, section 17568E1, and basically for approval, which was granted. Next application, which was discussed a little bit with conservation, is the Bertstein. Basically, this is a minor site plan. This is, again, is a 52 Lane Gate Road, Cold Spring. This is, again, about the additional 1,000 feet. The zoning is rural conservation. Basically, the house size actually is 2,046 square feet, and the additional would be 1,227 square feet. Basically, they're planning on using the existing well and septic systems without modification. This is, again, a scenic plan protection overlay, aquifer overlay district. It is within the wetlands buffer, as was discussed earlier, and the steep slopes are between 20 and 35%. So as you can see, the concerns with that. Basically, the planning board is tasked with clarification of project, completeness of application, also the short form EAF, that's an environmental assessment form, was submitted with the application. Basically, they declared lead agency. They did refer to conservation, which of course went out and looked. And basically, they also want to know about the scenic protection boundary points on the property as to where they're identified. The next meeting for the planning board is, October 16th, Thursday. Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Zoning.
The zoning board of appeals met on Monday, September 8th. There was one review for completeness, appeal number 886, Joseph Estvanik, 125 Old Albany Post Road, Garrison, New York. The applicant is seeking a variance for a rear and side deck that is 25 feet from the property line, where 30 is required. The board requested a survey with an engineered stamp and scheduled a public hearing for October 20th at 7:30, which is the next meeting of the ZPA.
That's all you got?
That's it.
Who's got it better than you?
Nobody.
Highway.
No, I don't. Okay. Philipstown Town Board members, this is from Roger Cherico. Work performed by the Philipstown Highway Department for the month of September. The Highway Department has handed in their preliminary budget and is waiting for their workshop to be held. We continue to work closely with FEMA and state to get Indian Brook Culvert replacement moving forward. A hydrology study is necessary in order to satisfy questions that FEMA has, so one will be done, which will be funded by FEMA. The Gorman Group has been chosen to resurface Arden Drive and Ferris Drive with paver-placed surface treatment in Continental Village. The work will begin in the middle of next week. Residents will be notified. We are continuing to repair potholes and grade along the town roads, weather permitting. Leaves are beginning to fall, so we'll be out picking up leaves along with our other routine maintenance of the roads. Leaves interfere with grading, so they must be picked up before these roads are graded. We are asking residents to follow the town code and do not blow leaves onto the road. Drainage was installed along Avery Road across from the aqueduct where standing water was an issue. This drainage will eliminate the problem. The department has only one water truck, and so we are asking residents to please be patient. This summer was a dry one, and so we rented a water truck to keep up with demand. The cost was about $6,200. This is one of the routine maintenance that comes with dirt roads. We have about 35 miles of dirt roads to cover, and it takes time. We have finished up FEMA projects along Phillips Brook Road. New drainage was laid out that will help the overflow to the culvert near Fox Ridge Road. We continue to bring recycling, paper, plastics, and metal and turn over the money to the town. This month, they have received $1,161 for a total of $6,963.59 for the 2014 year. 30 phone calls regarding road complaints and issues in the month of September. $4,841 in vehicle maintenance was spent for the month of September. Above monthly account submitted by Roger M. Cherico, Highway Superintendent.
Thank you. Thanks to Roger for that report. The guys are out there doing a lot of work. Building and land acquisition, I guess we're going to talk later on about the sale of the VFW, so that's all we have for now with that. Putnam County Legislator. Hi, Barbara.
Hello. I have a few things tonight. First is, last night was the county budget address with the proposed budget for 2015, and it comes up to a whopping $145.4 million. There is a net increase of $2.5 million over the 2014 budget, an increase of 1.75, staying within the cap, which is good news. I looked at the figures. I think if you have a home that's assessed at $300,000, you'd be paying roughly $13 more per year. So that's not too bad. Unfortunately, we have $103.3 million in state and federal unfunded mandates. That's 71% of our budget. That's huge. So we really have to get Senator Gibson and Congressman Maloney to really fight for mandate reform. A lot of these quality of life services we have, it's emergency services, 4.2 million, Office for Senior Resources is 5.9, Parks and Rec, 3.5, Sheriff's Road Patrol, 6.7, so it really eats up what we have left pretty quickly. So we'll spend the next couple of weeks going over the budget and see what we can cut as the legislature looks through every line, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for that. We are continuing the war on addiction. Heroin arrests since 2012 have increased 300%. I don't know about you, but that scares me. We are classified as Zone 2 for the Sheriff's Department. That's Philipstown and Putnam Valley is Zone 2. And we have roughly 40 incidents a day. So because of that, we are going to have 2 more Sheriff's Patrol on this side of the county and an investigator, which I think is really important. The Butterfield Physical Services meeting, we came over, and I think it was very successful. I felt it was very important for the legislature to come over firsthand, drive the drive, see how far it is, and understand why we need services over on this side of the county and why we need Butterfield. And I think they really got the idea. And it turned out, I think, as you said, Richard, a very successful meeting. So I am hopeful. Now we have to start the negotiations with the developer to find out exactly what it's going to cost and where we go from here. But it's a positive direction. Very happy about that.
Absolutely, and thanks for all your efforts on that.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming.
Good to be there.
We had Medication Take-Back Day. I know I've been pushing this, and I want to say that it was a success. We doubled the amount of people we had last year. And this is another reason to get the medications out of your home and somewhere safe so people can't get a hold of them. We had 45 people participated, which is double, and collected 140 pounds of medication.
Out of 45 people?
Yeah. They were carrying 3 garbage bags. People were coming in with bags. It was crazy. But it's perfect. It's, you know, it's the way to go. I had some conversations with Nancy about the Garrison Post Office. I know there are a few residents that still have concerns that the work has not been completed that was promised. So I stopped in that day and spoke to the postmaster, Raphael, and addressed each one. He wasn't there for 3 weeks, so I have a feeling maybe that was one of the reasons. But we walked the whole post office. He showed me everything he's planning to do. And then I followed up. And Nancy, I'll give you this guy's name so you can follow up too. I think it would be good if Maloney's office comes through again. It's Neil Fitzpatrick. He's out of Newburgh. But they're going to address the lights on all the time, the air conditioner, 3 trucks a day, the parking lot, the fence, and grading the road next door. That has to be done. So I'm confident that they will. We'll just keep going until they do. That's all.
Yeah, it'd be great to get a schedule so we can talk to the red and say, okay,
Yeah.
by some date.
Yeah, because
In
the
the
way
near
the
future.
postmaster was saying, he said, well, you know, it's going to get cold and we're not going to be able to do the parking lot this year, and that means the fence doesn't get up. But then when I talked to Fitzpatrick, he was like, no, there's no reason why it can't be done. So
Well,
we'll
that's
see
good.
what happens.
Because I know we've been getting the calls, and
Yeah, yeah. And I understand. You know, it's different. I drove by there at 9 o'clock last night, and all the lights were on in the back. They're supposed to be on motion control, you know, motion sensor, unless there was something back there, but they were all on. So they're going to put it on a switch so they can turn it on and off manually, which would be much better, because you never know what's going to be walking back there.
And I think the complaint is, you know, light pollution, not so much that they're on all the time. So if they could change the angle of the light.
Yeah, they're
and
doing
maybe
that.
Get some different fixtures to not have it
Yeah.
bleed out into the neighbor's
Oh,
yards.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I understand completely.
if they need a consultation, I know where they can get
Yeah, I
one.
know somebody
Yeah, I
who does
bet.
that. It's right behind you.
The Dark Skies Initiative.
He's looking around.
Oh, yeah.
And on a nice note, Putnam County Service Network Awards. This is a program from Cornell Cooperative Extension. They do awards every year, and they give out about 10 awards to different people that really give back to the community in some way. I know the Solomons were honored because of what they have done in their drug crisis in our backyard, which I was glad to see. But something that really hit home is they have a youth award. It's a young person or youth group that has contributed to the community in a significant way. And there were only 2 people nominated, and they were both from Philipstown. So I was very excited about that. One was Beatrice Copeland, because she's trying to do films around here and get interested, especially females, to get into filmmaking. And the winner was Stephen Casement. He's nominated as an exceptional young person making a difference in Putnam County. He started a program where community members donate used sporting equipment for Haldane students in need. I thought that was a wonderful thing to do, to give back like that at such a young age. So I want to compliment Stephen tonight and congratulate him on his award.
That's great.
That's it.
Like father, like son,
And mother.
and mother. Thank you. I get myself
He
in
built
big
a
trouble.
great swap room at our rec department where you can come in and exchange equipment, so it's really great.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing Town Clerk Miranda to advertise for bidders for number 2 fuel oil, excuse me, bulk delivery at the Claudio Marzolo Community Center. And when I spoke to Amber about this, she said that she had just had a delivery of oil, and she would like, if possible, for this to be for all of 2015, because she's not sure how much oil they're going to use, and she'd like to be able to just call when she needs it.
Okay. Yeah, and I think I still want to review the document one more time to sit down
Okay.
with the person I've been consulting
We
with.
used to be able to get through on one tank, but now the tank is smaller, so we went from a
But
fifth.
we're still hoping with all the
New
upgrades
improvement.
and efficiencies that we're going
Now
to
that
get
the
through
controls
with,
have been.
We're not going to use any oil.
that we won't use any, exactly. Maybe 250 gallons. But and my thanks to Richie Padala for helping us along with the document, too. He was a big help to me. And I'm going to come back out and see him to make sure we got it straight. But so if I could get a motion on the resolution to authorize the town clerk to advertise for bidders for bulk fuel delivery,
For 2015.
2015 at the Claudio Marzolo Community Center.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed? Unanimous, thank you.
Okay, the next item is a resolution appointing a liaison to the RUPCO Green Jobs Green New York Partnership PAC. Last month, we did become their partner, and now we have to name a liaison.
I wonder who that's going to
Oh,
be.
wow. Is this because I wasn't here last?
Could be the person sitting to my left.
Do it?
I would like to nominate Councilwoman Montgomery. How does the board feel about that?
I would support that.
Of course you would. I would be honored
No
to do
arguments.
it. It's a great initiative.
It
and,
is.
A great group of people to work with, and I've already had some inquiries about how we can start this ball rolling in our community, so I'm happy to do it.
Terrific, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. And it was a good presentation, I thought. So could I get a motion appointing Councilwoman Montgomery as our representative to RUPCO?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed? You're in. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, the next item is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Shea to sign the amendment to the agreement for special prosecutor services for the town of Philipstown's courts. Now, Angel Falcon has been doing it. The only change in the agreement is that his law office has moved.
Yeah, I saw that. And this was an initiative by the justices to get a special prosecutor. It's worked out really well because on many of the offenses, if we weren't able to prosecute because the officer didn't show up, the person just walked in, then there's no fine or fee collected. This has definitely increased our revenue and I think had an impact on speeding and traffic, infractions in the town. At least people know they're not going to walk scot-free when they're speeding through Philipstown or doing other things. So our thanks to both our justices. And again, the only change to this is the law office address. So if I get a motion authorizing me to sign the amendment to the agreement for special prosecutor services.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed? Unanimous.
The next is a resolution directing Roger Cherico, Highway Superintendent, to remove the no-through traffic, local traffic-only signs from Old Albany Post Road. And you can see Resolution number 88, 1998. That's when it was passed, but it also included other roads where those signs were placed. It included Fraser and Indian Brook, and that was for the duration of the construction on Route 9. And someone had called our office.
Is it finished yet? So I don't think it is.
I think they're going to start it again.
You know, it seems like a pretty straightforward thing, but I did give a call to Terry Zaleski, and we had some good input on this, saying, okay, fine, if we're going to remove those signs, then what are we going to supplant these signs with as far as trying to keep just reasonable local traffic on these roads, and also to limit truck traffic, overweight vehicles. We have all these things. So I think it sort of warrants a broader discussion than just taking the signs down. And I'd like to include the highway super and maybe sit down on a Wednesday, because I don't think this is pressing. It's been since 1998. But if we take them down, then we do lose the option for the sheriff's department to pursue certain avenues. So I'd like to table this for discussion at a future workshop. That won't be until after budget, because that's what it's going to be about from now until the budget passes. Yeah. So could I get a motion tabling item 4 on the agenda for future discussion?
I'd like the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed? So Terry, I'll reach out to you when we're ready to go on that. And thank you for your input.
Okay, the next item is discussion regarding the paving of a portion of East Mountain Road.
That we're not going to table. So we had a meeting last month, and this came up. The highway super has brought it up for as long as I can remember. We have 2 sections of road that are paved. We have East Mountain Road North, East Mountain Road South to a certain point, and in between we have a stretch of dirt road just over a half a mile. It's a perennial challenge, as are a lot of the roads. But this one in particular, for some specific reasons, one being the orientation of the road. A lot of the dirt roads, especially the Old Albany Post Road, which is a really long run, runs north-south. This one runs east-west. It gets a lot of the sun. It's just like talcum powder up there. So there's been concerns by the residents along that stretch of road who came in and voiced their concerns. And there are concerns about paving. I understand that. I know there were there were a lot of heartfelt opinions offered on both sides of the issue. And we appreciate that. It's a back and forth. But it's something that needs to be addressed. And, I would look to the board. I know we've talked about it. I know everybody's had a chance to think about it. I reached out, and had discussions with the engineer and the highway super about that specific stretch. And one thing the highway department does do is they keep accurate records on things. And there's talking about the man hours and the materials that get used on that section of road. And it's pretty astounding when you think about the things that go into a dirt road. It's not just dirt. It's not really, it's a composite of things. It's a composite of hardeners, a chemical, of dust control that doesn't work all that well in a year like this, because it does need a little bit of water in order to activate it. And we weren't getting that water. And they were up there with the truck spraying down EnviroBrine and then going through and spraying water. But it becomes sort of a full-time job on a road like that. They used 200 gallons of this brine per week on that one little stretch of road, which adds up. It's monetarily, it's time. It costs about $180 a week just to go through there and spray the brine on. And believe me, I live along that, not on that stretch, but on that road. It was not effective. There's just dust hanging in the air up there, persistent. And high in the air. It is a concern. And I understand. And there's one resident, when I drive by their house, I just say, I don't know how they tolerate it. It is a really harsh situation for them, I know. Some of the other things are just the cost comparisons of what we're using East Mountain Road North, which is paved, versus East Mountain Road South in this one section. The East Mountain Road North section is slightly longer by 0.4 of a mile, but as you go through the years, we're looking at consistently much higher maintenance costs. East Mountain Road North in 2009 took about $8,200 to maintain. East Mountain Road South took about $58,000. Now, those are big numbers. You know, you're talking about $50,000 difference, and it goes along consistently. You know, in 2010 we were talking about a $25,000 difference, a $30,000 difference in 2011. You know, a $32,000 difference in 2012, and it just goes along like that. When you add it up as an aggregate, it gets expensive. And I know, you know, paving a road is not cheap either. I'm not saying that is. But once you do it, the maintenance costs drop dramatically. And that section of road is a tough one because it's not the kind of thing you can grade out. There's a tremendous amount of ledge under there. When you're going up the little rise that's always in rough shape, it's just rock. That's all there is there. And they, you know, they put material over it, but storms come, people get on that section, they tear it up, it goes down into the stream and disappears, and they're back up there a week later doing the same thing. As we just go along, I have, you know, sheet after sheet of documentation from the highway super about what it costs. You know, and he hasn't, I mean, he gets a rap of, oh, he wants to pave everything. I don't believe that's true. I know it would, he knows it would make his life a little easier, and it's our feeling it would make things more cost effective. But that's not the sole reason to pave these roads. I mean, the health concerns are a big part of that. I did consult with the engineer also. You know, he weighed in on certain things about traffic patterns, how we've had increased traffic on these roads, which again leads to more wear and tear. When you talk about a hard surface, a paved surface, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, a blacktop surface, you're talking about lower operating costs. You know, and he's done some work with that, talking about public benefit, reduce wear and tear on vehicles, reduce dust and erosion, you know, possible enhancement of property values. I'm not so sure about that. You know, it depends on where you come down. A lot of people do like a smooth road, though, I will say that. One of the issues we have had up there is the school bus, and it happens when we get a thaw, and I know Roger puts chemicals on the road to keep them from thawing, but when it suddenly shoots up during the winter, you'll get a sudden thaw and the road turns into soup, essentially. We've had a bus get stuck up there. We've had buses get stuck down on other sections. So the safety of the motoring public and especially school bus traffic is definitely enhanced by having a paved surface. These roads, gravel roads, require routine grading, shaping, regular addition of gravel, and all sorts of materials that we don't get locally. We don't get them anywhere near local anymore. We have to truck them in from a pretty great distance. So it's not only the man hours, the fuel costs, the large trucks on the road, it's the environmental degradation of driving these large trucks great distances and burning up diesel fuel. It's, you know, it all has to be factored into the impact of what we're doing here. Into that, we also factor in vehicle maintenance costs. So when I look at it in total, and I put things in a balance, and I look at this one section of road, I feel, you know, pretty confident in my opinion of saying this section of road probably should be paved. It connects two paved sections. 12 out of the 14 residents who've approached us live along that section and are in favor of paving that section of road for all the reasons I laid out, plus others. And I know many people have health concerns along that section. So I would just, with all that in mind, just like to hear from the board, you know, each individual, if you want to start, John.
What affected me the most was the people that lived on the road and the fact that they have to live with their windows closed. And many of them have breathing issues. I know the one woman who was here that night, I don't remember her name, was very much in favor of the road remaining dirt. She loved it. She bought her house because it was dirt. Now she's developed asthma to the point that she can no longer breathe when the dust is up, which this year has been a lot of the time. So I'm very sympathetic to her. I wouldn't want to be living in my house with my windows closed on a beautiful fall day. I can't imagine it. The other point that you made about the thaw in the springtime, and I'm not going to speak for the North Towns Fire Department, but as a driver for the fire department, I could tell you when you go off that pavement with the fire truck, the trucks weigh 55,000 pounds, they sink in. And it's not a pleasant feeling to be at one point driving this way and then the truck's going off the shoulder of the road. The trucks are heavy because they're carrying water, so they need to be that heavy. So that the life safety issue for me is the biggest point, and I understand the comp plan to preserve the nature and the beauty of the dirt roads, but to me the life safety issue is a greater importance. So I would certainly support paving that section.
Nancy?
So, I live on a dirt road. I grew up on a dirt road. I love the dirt roads. We, as a board, work very hard to preserve the character of the town, including the dirt roads, and we have done that for years. And constantly being faced with these issues of the problems of dirt roads, I think we, stand our ground in protecting the character of these dirt roads. With that, I grew up walking the dirt roads, and I would love Foundry Pond Road to remain the goat path that it was when I was a kid. But it can't, and it hasn't, and now it's paved, and some of these roads get to the point where the condition of them affects the safety and the welfare of the people that live on it. 12 out of 14 residents that live on this portion of the road want it paved. I'm not here to give you my opinion. I'm here to make a decision and govern. My opinion really shouldn't factor into it, but when I hear that 12 out of 14 residents are asking us to do something, I think, it's in the best interest of the community and for the people on that road to pave it.
Yeah, without a doubt, the health concerns are paramount, has been discussed already. Nancy's point was one I was going to make too in regards to the 12 out of 14. In town here, whenever, because I went through it with our own road, if you want to actually make a road, a town road, or so forth, you have to go to the majority of people with the frontage on that road. And I think our society is based on majority rules. And as Nancy put in there, it's very important for us to take a look, as we did with every comment that came through, and basically make a list. But the overwhelming thing also has to be what those people live there in that section, and really, we really need to take into account their issues. And clearly, when you're dealing with health issues, that's a very serious matter, and I think it's very important and incumbent upon us to take action when those things are there, we see them, and that we take action to help those people out.
Thank you. One thing I want to say is this does not mean or mean that the board is leaning toward paving other roads. We're talking about this specific section. We're not talking about going down on the Wikipedia side. We're not talking about any other road right now. So I know there's a lot of suspicion out there, and that's unfounded because over the last 13 years here at the board, we've paved just about a half a mile of road. That's it, 13 years. So there's no statistical record that would indicate that this board has done anything but preserve dirt roads. And that is our intention. We do intend to follow the comp plan. We have great respect. I mean, I have a much larger understanding and respect for the Old Albany Post Road and Indian Brook Road, having gone through a multi-year process in looking at improving the southernmost section of the Old Albany Post Road. 400 feet of paving took about 6 years to get done. So it's not something we do lightly. It's not something we enter into quickly, but you've heard from the board. Yes, Barbara?
If you don't mind.
Yes.
I agree with you, and this is a tough issue. And I think the health and safety of our residents is paramount before anything else. And when these people come in and say they're suffering from living on this little patch of road, you have to do it. You have to. But that doesn't mean we want to pave everything. Like you said, I have great respect for Old Albany Post Road, Indian Brook Road. I mean, they're historic. Of course, we wouldn't want to pave those roads. Mm-hmm. And to say Roger wants to pave, I mean, I've spent a lot of time with that man, almost too much. And
What, 20, 30 minutes?
he's
Oh, that's terrible.
he's gone out and purchased another grader.
I know. We
So
know
that, he wouldn't do, and it took him a long time to find a grader at a good price because no town has dirt roads anymore. I mean, it's a thing of the past.
For somebody to grade, we have a nice grader.
Yeah, we could lend it out now. Maybe we could charge. But I think his main goal was to pave things with a steeper grade, between 11 and 15%, when it continually washes out and washes into our wetland. And I think you all agree with that. So I think you're making a good decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Terry.
Thank you, Richard. Terry Zaleski, the Old Rose Society of Philipstown. Last month at the meeting, we appreciate the opportunity that a number of people from the area and elsewhere had a chance to make their voices heard, concerning their feelings and their concerns. And one of the things that I know that's happened over the past month is that the board has certainly given consideration to what it is that they had said. And there has been a good bit of interaction between the board and with highway superintendent, with the board, and with the engineer involved with this. This is not something that has simply been brushed over. The concerns that were raised a few weeks ago were indeed taken into consideration by this board. And that is extremely important and valuable for those folks who were here last month to have had their voices heard, to have had that in turn inform the discussion that you guys have had over the last few weeks. And that's certainly appreciated in the process. We respect the process as it prevails here tonight. So, not a problem. One point I would want to make, though, and that is as relates to other areas around the town, and certainly we've heard everybody express their support for dirt roads. I mean, we're going to be seeing, I suppose, soon in the proposed highway budget that's come out, what it is that, maybe on the suggested wish list, if you will. We've seen that wish list in past years, so we look forward to seeing that wish list again and scratching heads together and trying to analyze what may or may not be appropriate there. One of the concerns that I've heard expressed by some residents just recently, the suspicion when people see drainage put in sometimes along roads is, well, that's just preliminary to paving. For example, recently as relates to South Mountain Pass from like High Ridge down to 9D, I've had to discourage folks from getting too worried or concerned about the culverts and the drainage that was put in. Because just like along Saunders Hill when drainage was put in, or along some stretches of Old Albany where drainage was put in, it's not necessarily preliminary to paving. And we know that's something that in the past has been on Roger's wish list, but, roads like that and other areas, sometimes we really have to take another hard look at that going forward. And I don't know what the prospects of that may be in the future. But as relates to this, the community has had an opportunity to be heard, and we appreciate your respectful listening to that, and the fact that over the last few weeks, I certainly know the work that's been done in analyzing those concerns. So we thank you.
Thank you, Terry. And I would say, the work that was done on Saunders Hill had great effect. When you see that amount of drainage go in, it has gone a long way into preserving that road and to making it stay put. And, that's the efforts put forth by the highway superintendent, getting an engineer out there, getting different materials, using a lot more drainage in that area to preserve that section of road so that it doesn't have to be paved, so we can keep the material out of the streams and on the road, crowning, all the things that go along with that. And I know he's continuing his efforts to come up with better solutions. So, my thanks to him for that. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Juby.
Bob Juby, 977 East Mountain Road. I thought about this all month. I drive it every day. There's no question. It was obvious it was going to get paved, and in my opinion, and I think it was, quite frankly, for good reason. I can't but support. I see what these people go through every day. The only thing that bothers me is, a little bit. And I certainly respect what you said, and what you said is true. Very little has been paved. I just worry about some of the statements about, the fire truck and the school bus and those kinds of things, because, that's a pretty flat section. Now, the school bus doesn't go down past Trout Brook, and so that's out. I just, some of the things that the way it's said, it just kind of makes me. I would think it would make a lot of people nervous about those statements. You know, oh, the fire truck, the school bus. You know, that's where that's it. You know, so just.
Well, I can understand that. You're looking at
see what I'm
precedent and things like that. But one thing I will say about fire trucks and Garrison in particular, you know, they're looking toward purchasing vehicles that, you know, can handle these roads. So it's not, oh, we're going to pave the roads. We're going to look at changing some of the equipment. I know, you know, North Highlands thinks about these things when they make their purchases. They get vehicles that they'll get to the scene of an accident or a fire any way they can. So, you know, it's a consideration, but again, we're talking right now about this one specific stretch of road.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
As I said, I can't help but to support it.
It's 3,000 feet. Yeah.
3,000
We're talking about 3,000 feet of road, yes.
And the only other thing was, you know, after Roger went and did that culvert, you know, above my house, we haven't had any issues with that section. It hasn't washed out for any reason. So I mean, we can make it work, and that is quite frankly a fairly steep spot.
Right.
So we can make it work, and you know, I've talked to Roger about other areas, and they've actually done some other things. So there are things that we can do to make it really work.
No doubt.
You know,
and he's tried them and been successful in other areas
right.
with them.
So you know, that's it. Thanks.
All right. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Matthew McGinley, 534 East Mountain Road North. I'd like to thank the board for their consideration of paving this part of the road. I've lived there for the last 11 years, and I've driven that road daily, so I can understand the issues and the concerns about health. Personally, I've had vehicle problems on that road, and I really would appreciate if that part of that road would be paved. So I appreciate all your help and effort towards that. Thank you.
It's amazing the washboard that road becomes, even on the level spots, for some reason. And I really am convinced it has to do with the orientation and the fact that, well, there is a lot of traffic up there, and there's a lot more houses than there used to be, no doubt. Yes, Mrs. Lusk.
I wanted to thank you for considering this. Our friend Grace Snowden could not be here tonight. She and her husband had to be in New York City. But this would make a big difference for them and for others. And the health situation is the most serious. The safety situation on the road is the next. And by the way, did you get? I wrote you last night, but it was sent out late. I got
it was past 8:30.
You responded.
I was here.
I don't know if all of you saw the letter. It had copy and paste stuff from the EPA on the lung issue and how serious this could be. Mm-hmm. And anyway, I just really appreciate your regarding this so seriously.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for all your input.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Lusk.
I would like to thank you for agreeing to work on paving the road. My parents bought property across the road from where I live now in 1938. 7 years later, when I was born, that was the place we always spent our summers. And I remember this because green grass grew up the center of the road. If there was a car, it was an event. All the kids said, "Oh, wow, a car." My sister had her birthday party in the middle of the summer. We set up the table in the middle of the road because there was no traffic at all. And if I go back there now, I can see, it used to be you'd walk across the front of the house and step down into the road. If you're there today, you'll see that the road is now at least 2 feet, maybe 3 feet higher than it used to be because of the thousands of yards of gravel that's been dumped on this over the years. It was a very nice thing way back in 1950, but times have changed.
I remember when grass used to grow in the middle of the road. That was a great thing.
And I hated it when the grader came along because it was hard on your bare feet because nobody wore shoes. Thank you.
We could just go back, but we can't.
All right. Anyone else?
Well, I remember Foundry Pond Road.
All right. With that,
Hard to walk.
I mean, I'd like to have a resolution to authorize the highway superintendent. We do have a preliminary plan from the engineer. I know that he's looking to get part of this done this year. I know we won't do the entire section this year because there's going to be other improvements that need to be done. There's also going to need to be a discussion with Parks about property they have up the road. But I would like to authorize the highway superintendent to pave that section of East Mountain Road. If I could get a motion on that.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. I'll talk to Roger tomorrow.
Okay, the next item is a resolution accepting the proposal from Stantec for the initial site survey and preparation of a base map for Manitou Station Road, and with a total cost of $9,300.
This is part of a larger effort to address the issues down on Manitou Station Road. We did approve an expenditure for a project down there of $58,300. Does have it in his budget. So the initial would be to get the survey done so that we can deal with all the agencies for permitting and things like that, and actually to see how the height of the road is going to be affected, all the various aspects of that. Stantec was the lowest qualified bidder, and I know the highway super is anxious to get that work done, that surveying work done, so we can move towards addressing all the issues for the residents down on Manitou Station Road. So I don't know if the board has any comment on that. We've spent a lot of time down there, I know that.
Long time coming.
We've tried working with the county, we've applied for grants, we've done just about everything. And we haven't exhausted all avenues. We expect that we will apply for other funding, but we need to stand up and do the work. We can't make the residents wait any longer. So if I get a resolution accepting the proposal from Stantec for the site survey and preparation of base map for Manitou Station Road.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is a resolution authorizing the Justice Court to apply for the 2014-15 Justice Court Assistant Program Grant.
I know that Rosemary Bernasconi, the court clerk, has been working hard on this. I know Annette has been helping her along with this. They want to address some of the issues here. They're applying for a grant. The packet is available for anyone who's interested. It's improvements to this room, seating, things like that, things for the office. We need to do some upgrades. I applaud their effort in taking the initiative to go ahead and do this. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of overtime that they're not getting paid for, but I think they feel it's important enough to really apply for. So if I could get a resolution authorizing the Justice Court to apply for the 2014-15 Justice Court Assistance Grant.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. And she did put together quite a package. It seems like a really strong application.
Okay, the next item is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Shea to sign the filming permit for HIS production, Nunc Pro Tunc.
This is something we do pretty routinely around here. A lot of people come here to film for very obvious reasons. We do get a permit fee out of this. It's pretty straightforward. They already have done this filming, so it went off without incident, as it always has. Can I get a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed? Unanimous.
The next item is resolutions are needed to proceed with the financing of one new 2014 tanker pumper truck for the Garrison Volunteer Fire Department.
Okay, this has been an ongoing discussion with a lot of twists and turns. We realize that Garrison Fire Department needs a new tanker. The old one's 21 years old, I believe, at this point. It was put together from older parts, when it was put together. The tank is leaking, the truck has mechanical issues. Had it inspected, to make sure it was able to go out, but, roadworthy and up to, what it should be, a modern standard, are two different things. Being able to drive it on the road, fine. Being able to get it from point A to point B in an emergency in a timely manner, that could be a different story. The fire company needs reliable equipment. There's no doubt. They need water to put out fires. There's no doubt about that. One of the things that came up along the way was that the fire company had entered into a contract to buy this piece of equipment before discussions were really had. And, I don't need to review the contract to know that these things are supposed to happen. And it's aggravating. It just is. But, I don't have the luxury of being aggravated. We have functional concerns here. We would strongly advise that in the future that the fire department adhere to the contract. It helps everybody. And one of the big issues is transparency. I mean, now we have all the documentation. We have basically everything we need. We did not have that, I believe, back in March when this purchase was committed to. Garrison Fire Department is well within its rights to sign contracts, but that does not commit the public to financing those contracts, the things that come along with it. That discussion needs to be had. We have public hearings. The board vets the whole thing, and then we go ahead and craft resolutions, sign public finance documents. It's a process, and the process is there for a reason. It needs to be followed. Over the years, we've taken a lot of steps to get more involved with the fire company. I think we've improved our relationship over time. I think we've established, a better rapport. Things like this can set that back a little bit. I mean, I'm already moving on. We know there's going to be payments over the course of time. We have all that information. Again, it's in my mind, a justifiable purchase. It's something they're going to need. But I would much rather have had this thing be more front-loaded with discussion last year or this year earlier in March, rather than finding out that it had been committed to. And I understand that the commitment was made with the provision that if they didn't get financing, that they wouldn't be, financially liable for the purchase. But it's a sort of a backward way to go about things. And in the future, I would just urge that we have these more transparent discussions going, forward. And again, adhere to the contract. That's part of it. Any purchase over $5,000 needs a really in-depth discussion with the town board. But we had a meeting this week and went over a lot of details with things regarding the upcoming budget season, how we're going to get a different budget format going this year, have some financial reporting. We're going to we've had nearly monthly meetings, it feels like, over the last several months. We're also going to be looking at a financial report up to date with the budget. So we'll have a complete picture of where Garrison Fire is at currently when we go into this new budget. In the past, we have to wait for the audited statement until the following April, which is great when we get it, but it doesn't help us during the budget season as to having a complete picture. This year, these guys have put in extra money for accounting. They've stepped up. We'll be able to get a good report, an accurate report from them to establish the budgeted amounts. So with that, I would open it up to the board. Start with you.
I've had a discussion with President Corsi, and I thank you both for coming out tonight. And I'll keep it at that. And I've given her advice in private, and I think that's plenty for what we had to say. I supported the tanker 5 years ago. And I think the truck needs to be purchased. There needs to be water at a fire, and it needs to be a dependable, the dependable, strong truck to make sure it's there when it's needed. It's not a delivery truck. It's not an over-the-road UPS truck or anything along those lines. When it's needed, it's got to work. So I supported it a long time ago. I think they got a great price on it. I don't know how they did it, but they did get a good price. So, and I wish you good luck with the truck.
So I'm not quite sure what happened. I do know that the truck was purchased, then meetings ensued without the knowledge that the truck was purchased, so that's a huge waste of time for my fellow board members and the supervisor. And it's unfortunate because I think we've worked really hard to establish a better relationship. These were things that, we tried to address years ago. And I feel like a fool, that this happened and the truck was purchased. We have an agreement that you guys will come to us before any of these purchases are made. Why do we have these agreements in place? It's not the way I run my house when we need to purchase things for my house and we have agreements with how they're going to be purchased. So, again, we need the truck, we need water at fires. They're two different issues here. I hope in the future that we can repair this unfortunate relationship that seems to keep recurring. I don't know. I feel duped.
Anything else?
Well, again, it's a pragmatic problem. It really has nothing to do with the tanker because that's not the issue. It's really about a problem that continually goes on. You can ring a bell, but you have to be able to walk away understanding that we are part of the process, we need to be part of the review, and that has to be structured in. Anything that we can do, we're here for, and it's been done by a lot of people, but I think it's very important going away from here that we don't find ourselves in this situation because, as Nancy was saying, it's very frustrating. We shouldn't be having this discussion. This could easily have been avoided, and I don't see any reason why it happened in the first place. So that's what I hope we take away from going forward with anything with the town that we oversee, not just with Garrison Fire.
Right. I understand also, the volunteer nature of the fire department. Look, we appreciate the fact that people are putting in hours and getting together all the financing documents, and they have a truck committee, and we're getting good documentation at this point. We have everything we need, honestly. But
was this documentation available in March when the truck was purchased and it was just being provided? I know we were waiting for the documentation. That's why we couldn't have this on the agenda previously, because we were waiting for more information like we do often.
Right. I don't know that. But I can also see, we've heard the rationale for doing this. When you need a piece of equipment, you don't walk into a lot and say, hey, there's my tanker truck. These things are built, and they take a good lead time. But again, if we had that discussion back in March, then it's that rationale is out there. It's transparent, and everybody knows where we stand. I understand the issue. Just that discussion should have taken place back in March.
And maybe this is another indication that you don't really need us. Go out to referendum, establish a district. That would be, then we'd be out of the picture, because we kind of feel out of the picture now. At least I do.
Well, I don't feel out of the picture. I've had a lot of interaction with them, but Rodney.
I got to separate this. My name's Rodney Tudor, and this part is just as a citizen. As far as your last statement, you guys have the authority to do that. You can do it all on your own as to make us a district. So if that's your feeling, that's what we'll have to deal with. But second reason I'm up here, my name's Rodney Tudor again. I am a member of the Garrison Volunteer Fire Company, and I'm also on the board. I can say that in no way were we ever trying to deceive you. And personally, I thought the email that the president sent to you guys explaining to you that we had entered into a contract with this tanker company back in February was enough notification that we were moving forward with the truck. If I would have known that that wasn't enough, or I'm sure the rest of the board, if we would have known that wasn't enough notification, we would have provided whatever notification you would have wanted so that it would have been clear. But I was under the impression, especially because I think it was the July meeting, you actually read her email into the record. So
But
So especially
we've been questioned
after
multiple
that.
times about this, so it couldn't have been, it wasn't clear that this had happened. I mean, maybe there was just a fine point or
Okay,
something we were missing.
I don't want to get into an argument, but I'm just saying from my point of view, I thought that was enough. And especially after it was read into the record, we weren't hiding anything. And we never tried to hide anything. And after that, I mean, we went about our business of trying to acquire the truck.
Right. I think it was taken as more of an intent, because I had answered questions from the audience saying, no, the purchase has not been made yet. And
Okay.
I questioned, you know, I said, well, maybe this is the way the process has always been done. I mean, you guys have purchased 3 trucks. And I think part of it is that, you know, John Seversky had handled them prior to this. So I called John. I said, you know, well, he said traditionally they have not gone to contract until the public hearing has happened. So, and our first public hearing wasn't until May. So maybe it was just the transfer of John not being involved at that point, and he knew the way the process worked. I know you have a new chief, you have a new president, and I chalked it up to, okay, maybe they just didn't know.
Well,
the
we've been
situation.
through this.
I can assure you that none of us went out of our way to deceive anybody.
No,
we
I
were
don't.
trying to, and we all know
see that.
anything. I believe it's $3,000. We have to notify. We all know that, and this is definitely way over $3,000.
And Donna assured me this morning, no money has been transferred as of
Right.
yet. So what I don't understand is how the tanker company would build a tanker without any money, but I guess they're doing it.
Or without a resolution.
Yeah, so they're doing it.
But
All right. Thanks, Rodney. So with that, take a breath. We do have a secret document. You know, we do have the finance paperwork. We do have everything that we need. We've had it reviewed by our attorney. I've had conversations with him. I've reviewed the documentation. You know, that really what the town is doing here is authorizing, you know, public finance so they can get a better rate. So ultimately, that's our purview in this purchase. We've had a lot of discussions. We're all well aware of what's being purchased at this point. We're also well aware of the need. And also the effort that's been put into selection and things like that, getting this all together. It is a job.
I think I just note one other thing. There will be no increase in their budget because this is an instituted payment because of the fact that another loan has ended. So this is just a continuation of that loan. So,
Right.
So there will be no shown.
what came off? Do you remember?
Which engine, Rodney? The 2.2 or 2.1 is paid off?
2.1's the older one.
That's the one that's got to be paid off.
So again, there's no impact to the budget with this purchase. I know there's 4 years of $55,000 payments, I believe, and then one around 26 or 28 that finishes in 5 years. There's money coming out of a reserve fund. There's $80,000 being put down. There was some equipment looked at and money committed to equipment that will go on this vehicle. So that's all part of it. We definitely have a better understanding at this point. The resolution needed to proceed with the financing of one new 2014 tanker pumper for the Garrison Volunteer Fire Department. We have the seeker document somewhere in here. Is it all the way to the back? Do you have one down there?
I have one, yeah.
Back. All right. Resolution, whereas Garrison Volunteer Fire Company, Inc. has proposed to enter into a lease purchase agreement in order to finance one 3,000-gallon tanker with a pump on a firefighter chassis to be located at the Garrison Volunteer Fire Company. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this action is a Type 2 action. This is the seeker part. As defined under New York NYCRR Pat 617.3D, which is an action class of actions which have been classified by New York State, do not have a significant effect on the environment and thus do not require an environmental impact statement. This is pretty common for us. Or other determination or procedures under Part 627 of the Environmental Conservation Law. Could I get a motion on the seeker document? This is a neg deck.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I know I vote aye. Any opposed? Vote is unanimous for all in attendance. The second authorization resolution, whereas Garrison Volunteer Fire Company has conducted a public hearing on May 21st, 2014 at 7:30 PM at the Town Hall, Town of Philipstown, 238 Main Street, Cold Spring, New York, in connection with entering into an agreement in order to finance equipment consisting of one 3,000-gallon pump tanker with a pump on a Freightliner chassis, which hearing was held pursuant to Internal Revenue Code Section 147F. And whereas said Section 147F requires approval of such financing by the town, which approval does not in any way constitute any financial involvement or obligation of the town. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign Section 147F approval and written agreement presented by the Garrison Volunteer Fire Company, Inc. in connection with the foregoing financing. Can I get a motion on the resolution?
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Based
Aye.
on need, I vote aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. All right, congratulations.
Okay, the next item is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report. Fees collected for the month of September, $11,693. Total number of permits issued were 35. There were 5 additions, alteration, or repairs to residential buildings, 30 all other permits, pools, sheds, deck, plumbing, HVAC, etc., and 33 certificates of occupancy issued.
Our thanks to both code enforcement officers, Bob Emmerich and Kevin Donahue. Had a lot of FaceTime with them lately. Kevin's working hard on the county hazard mitigation plan, as is Councilwoman Montgomery. I understand you're attending a meeting?
I attended a meeting.
Attended a meeting.
I attended a couple, but I attended one today. But we'll talk about that later if you want.
Thank you for being there on our behalf.
My pleasure.
All right. Schedule meetings and workshops. Mm-hmm.
So, I know you had said we're going to meet every Wednesday from here on out until we die.
Yes.
And speaking of the hazard mitigation, we're in the final process of preparing this draft to go up online for the public to view. There will be 45 days for the public to take a look at the hazard mitigation plan, countywide hazard mitigation plan. And our piece of it is a pretty substantial piece. Kevin's worked very hard. He needs to make a few more additions, submit it to us for our approval. So if we could make a formal approval of the draft to be submitted to Putnam County next Wednesday, that would be great. Kevin assures us he'll have the information to us in time. So we really need to get that to the county. The county's put an October 24th deadline on.
But there are deadlines.
I know, but I'd like to get it to them. Like, we're ready to go. We were ready to go with this from day one. So it's not a final draft. It's just, hey, take a look at it. We authorize Kevin. We need a formal authorization for Kevin to be submitting it to the county, to tell the county to move forward with it.
Okay.
So we
But there's going to be changes to
So
this
there will be
plan.
changes.
So,
But we need record that we approve this portion of it, and it can be submitted for public view.
right. So, in essence, we're authorizing Kevin to submit.
We'll do this next Wednesday, is what I'm asking for when
Right.
you're scheduling
All right.
workshops.
All right, fine.
And he'll have it ready by then.
It'll be ready. It'll be ready before that.
But again, we're going to be authorizing Kevin to submit the draft, an approval of the draft hazmat plan, or hazmat plan. All right, yeah, we'll put it on there.
It won't take long.
So that'll be part of next Wednesday. Also, next Wednesday, I'd like to get together with Recreation
Okay.
to go over their budget.
So I'll contact Amber. Is Dottie doing that
If you could, that'd be good.
next Wednesday?
Wednesday the 8th.
Wednesday, the 8th,
7:30.
7:30. The following Wednesday, we would do highway. So that'd be the 15th. That'll be it for now. Then we'll have, obviously, nights following that where when we have this information, where we're going to get together and, look at the overall budget and the impacts. The big ones are rec and highway. I guess, Tina, you have a schedule here, recommended schedule for Continental Village Park District, Water District, and the general budget.
For the public hearings,
Yeah,
yes.
those are pretty straightforward. We know we can do those on the same night as the public hearing for the budget. So I would say,
Right.
let's stick with that November 5th. And then we'll schedule some more workshops as we go along. We're going to have emergency services in. We're still waiting for some information. Obviously, we'd like to give everybody ample time to get, the budgets in, an accurate budget in. So we'll be looking to Garrison, we're looking down Continental Village. Cold Spring generally comes in, the ambulance corps. We'll be getting together with them also. But I just want to make sure that we have budget packets from everyone, obviously, before we schedule anything. But for the next 2 Wednesdays, we're set. And we can also do the hazard mitigation resolution next Wednesday. They need a new copier at REC. We've had discussions with Amber about this. We have a resolution authorizing me to sign a contract between the town and RICO for a copier lease agreement for the REC department. This is another piece of equipment.
It's replacing one that's there also.
Yes, we're not
That's
getting an
expired.
additional copier, but the leases do run out. Amber has vetted the whole thing. I have great faith in Amber. She's highly competent. She's run it by Steve Gaba. He's reviewed the lease agreement. He signed off on it. So with that, could I get a motion on the resolution authorizing me to sign the contract between the town and RICO for a copy or lease agreement for recreation?
So moved. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Item 14.
Okay, the next item are the following resolutions are needed to advertise the sale of the VFW Hall at 34 Kemble Avenue, Cold Spring, New York. The first one would be to authorize Town Clerk Mirando to publish and post notice of sale and to make the bid form and term sheet available to the public.
Okay, this is something we've been talking about for a while. We've had discussions with the veterans. They maintain we maintain one building, they maintain another. They have 2 spaces right now. I think we all agree that it's excess at this point. They can only meet in one building at a time. The building you have over here is in much better condition for them, gives them more space and things like that. VFW, believe it or not, last year used more oil than Town Hall.
I believe it.
Which is, to me, was just a shocker.
And that-
The one office we have down there is Ed Cleary's office for the aging, but we're going to find a new space for him. And in the future, we'll be looking at working more closely with the county to look at spaces in town, another potential county service that could be expanded here. So, first resolution is to authorize Town Clerk Miranda to publish and post a notice of sale, make the bid and term sheet available to the public. Could I get a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. And just as not a sidebar, but to make sure everyone's clear, a portion of the proceeds from this sale will be going to the veterans to make improvements on, or to do whatever they wish with, but I understand that they'll be making some improvements on the American Legion building. The second is the notice to, well, we have the notice to bidders. Do we need to approve the notice to bidders? We're all set with that then. This has been reviewed by the attorney. I know there's been a lot of interest already. about this, so we'll see what happens. We could certainly use the revenue. I attended a meeting today with regard to the Hudson Highland Fjord Trail, the master plan. It's really come along. Highland Land Trust was gracious enough to allow us to have the meeting down there. It was well attended. I mean, representatives of DEC, New York State Parks, DOT, the group that serves as the steering committee were all there. The consultant gave a good presentation. A lot of commentary was made on it, but there's going to be another public presentation of the master plan. What was the date again, Andy? I don't have it in front of me.
It's going to be the proposed master plan.
Master plan,
that the
yes.
municipalities will consider. October 23rd at the Chalet, 7 to 9 p.m. It'll be the final presentation by the consultants RBA on their, again, proposed master plan for the Fjord Trail from the Cold Spring train station to the Beacon train station. And the public is strongly encouraged to attend.
Right. I thought, I mean, it was just really exciting to see the whole thing coming together and take shape like that. A lot of really good ideas, a lot of promise there, I think. So hopefully we'll keep things moving. We have a pending CFA, consolidated funding application for work and improvements that we've done at the Breakneck Ridge Station and Trailhead. We also have nearly approved funding for signage and wayfinding. We're still waiting for authorization to expend those funds. And then we have a multimodal grant out for the sidewalk project that I'm anticipating news on any day, literally. So there's motion on it, and there's a lot of momentum at this point and a lot of buy-in from the agencies that need to give approval, Metro North, DOT. They've all been, I think, receptive to the idea and optimistic about it, but I think that I have a lot of optimism just seeing them take this as seriously as they do month after month, sending high-level representatives. We had a good meeting with Metro North last month down in New York, so it's definitely promising. I know there are a lot of concerns, there are a lot of challenges to be met, but it would be a great project. So that's it for me. Anything else from the board?
The generator at the former landfill site, the town has installed a new 10 kW generator at the former landfill garage, which is now the recycling center. The generator will enable the emergency services in our highway department to utilize their repeater and transmission tower that's on top of the landfill during a power failure. In the recent big storms, when power's out, that repeater, when it's most needed, is not functioning because there's no power. So we put a 10 kW generator down at the building, which will power the building. Not that we use it a whole lot during storms, but the main purpose is to power the antenna and the repeater. I'd like to thank Roger in the highway department. He prepped the site, did the excavation for us, and has set the generator. It's installed, it's wired into the building now. The propane is there, or the tank is there. It's not hooked up or filled yet, but we're waiting on, now the manufacturer has to come out and do the startup. So it will be functioning very soon. So
there we go, government in action.
Yep, government in action.
Nice project, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
Sure, Mike.
Also, stormwater, regarding to stormwater management, working with Nancy Montgomery, the liaison to that, contacted Continental Village president and Mike Phelan, who's also in charge of it, set up a meeting for November 20th at 8 o'clock at night. I also worked with the wetlands inspector, David Klotzel. The Conservation Board will actually set up the agenda at their October meeting. Basically, and this, by the way, even though it's being held down there as an informational regarding stormwater management protections, it's open to the entire town. All right, and we'll hopefully look to do this in other venues throughout the town for this discussion. I also dealt with an issue in regards to stormwater and wetlands on Howland Drive, and with the wetlands inspector. There is a stop work there, and this really kind of falls into what it's looking like initially as an educational thing for people to understand when you're clear cutting or cutting areas, what's adjacent to your property. If it's wetlands, whatever, you can have a direct impact. Also with, we obviously have a lot of steep slopes in this town, more than half of the town is, and its effect on draining to other properties and so forth. So I think this will be a very good beneficial. We've had this in the past, and it had good turnout, and I think this will be well received. Also, in regards to cemeteries, which has gotten some attention lately, following up also, Haldane had agreed to fix the fence on the Mountain Road, which leads into the school in June, but because of problems on their end, they had to delay it. They will be performing the work this month. Also, we continue, it kind of made me think, based on what occurred recently to the Cedar Road one, is to maintain the fences. I think might be better to try to maintain those and keep them up, because they do form that barrier and remind people of exactly, where the cemetery begins. And this is a tight area here, as has been discussed, and so we have to combine public use with respect for our cemeteries as well. And we can do that, but we have to sometimes maintain buffers and barriers and so forth, so that we don't intrude on respect for our fallen. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your efforts there. And we did have the cemeteries all cut. They're all in good shape. So that worked out well. And also, I was called by the Putnam County News and asked a question about it, and I did make a statement saying, it seemed rather disrespectful. What wasn't printed was my follow-up to that was, I'm sure it was done accidentally and inadvertently as far as moving the stones on Cedar Street. And, my apologies to Mayor Falloon. He, it's a tough job being at the top and making decisions, and people make mistakes. I make them every day. Probably making one right now. But I should know after 13 years to temper my remarks. And, the village does a great job with things. They're tough jobs. You're under a lot of scrutiny, a lot more than in the past, and it seems to be a lot less leeway. But, they make a mistake. I made a mistake in even opening my mouth. If the full content of my comment had been made, I'm sure that it would have been more understandable. But my apologies if anyone was offended, if Ralph or Ed or any of those guys.
Well, it's unfortunate that the full content isn't always there, and while we're reporting on what we've been doing, while I do sometimes go out and get coffee. I've also been, in addition to stopping progress, I've been attending the MTA monthly board meetings down in Manhattan at Madison Avenue, just to be a presence there and to follow up on their progress with their safety measures that they are attempting to implement. It's been a difficult thing for me to do, but I feel it's a necessary thing to do on behalf of the community and on behalf of my family. And I can tell you that the new Metro-North president is working very hard to ensure the safety of the trains. I do feel that the MTA board is sometimes standing in his way, and I will, continue my work to make every effort to communicate with them in, what I see as necessary to implement the safety measures and to implement the 2008 Rail Safety Act that was supposed to be implemented, shortly after 2008. So with that, I'll continue to go down there.
Thank you.
I just wanted to also say we lost a very special person in our community, Mary Jo Budney Knapp, and just keep Betty and her family and Mary Jo's family in your thoughts, please.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I'm remiss in not making mention, and our condolences to the entire Knapp family and the Budney family. They've been through a lot this year. Anything from the audience? Yes, sir.
I'm David Lang from 20 Howland Road, and here with my neighbors John and Diane Yulee from Ryder Court. And I was wanting to bring something to your attention here. Councilman Leonard mentioned it just a moment ago. About a week ago, a piece of property that we believed to be wetlands at the foot of Howland Road was pretty well cleared with chainsaws and chippers to the point where it's flush all the way back to where what I would call the low water mark is. The high water mark is about 2 feet below the road surface, so it's clearly an area that fills when there is rainwater runoff. We sent out the alarm by way of email last Sunday night to many of you, and we were here to thank you for responding quickly, along with the wetlands inspector, for issuing a stop work order Monday morning sometime, because our fear was the rest of that piece of property was looking like it was going to be cleared on Monday morning. They did about half of it and then for some reason stopped. We're not sure who did it, other than there was a work crew out there doing it. But part of our presence here, and not only to focus you for a moment on this, we realize you have much bigger issues to deal with, and we thank you for those too, but to also help us understand what is next after a stop work order, whether there are penalties involved. We did a little bit of homework on the wetlands law and understand that a bond can be requested before any future development or work on this property be done. And with this, I hereby, and my neighbors, many of whom not here, request that you do ask for that bond, since they went ahead and just sort of seemingly cleared it out without any kind of permit. And I'll just back up for a minute. I'm making the assumption that that is a wetlands area. With this, a similar attempt happened probably 10 years ago that you all stopped at that point too, where they were starting to bring in the fill. They had not done any clearing, but the dump trucks were starting to arrive. Our concern is the dump trucks are around the corner, and what do we do to sort of hold that up and to get your advice on what is the process here and how we can help and not be, you know, a pain in the neck, but be vigilant and making sure the rules get followed. So
a stop work order generally gets someone's attention. I'm sure we'll be hearing from the owner. Until that time, you know, no work can proceed on that property. Your comment about, you know, it being a wetland, you know, there are spots that get wet that are not wetlands. You know, a wetland is a designation given for a whole host of reasons, you know, soils, plant materials, all sorts of things. The wetlands inspector's been out there a couple times to the site, and he's going to do a further assessment to see where the wetlands border would be. People do have rights to go and, you know, cut trees down on their property, as disturbing as that may be to everyone. They can, if it's not a wetlands and he's not on steep slopes and he's, you know, within his rights, you know, he can cut down some trees. The things that were taken down, you know, David did sort of do a catalog of what was taken down. Most of it was locust, I believe he said. But he's keeping a close watch on the situation. You can't just start trucking in fill on a site if it's a wetland. There's a whole process. You got to go through permitting process with the Conservation Board. You do have to put up a bond, and you have to have a plan. So you can't just run roughshod over the wetlands laws. We take them very seriously. We're not sure if this is a wetland, but we do like to err on the side of caution in these instances. It's only a 1 acre site. So in order for him to do any sort of development there, you're looking at well, septic, Board of Health approval for both of those, separation distances, driveway, house. That's a tough road to hoe when you only have, you know, an acre of property. So we'll be hearing from him, and we'll be vigilant watching the site. But until David has made a final assessment as to where the wetland actually is, if it is there, what the buffer is, and what the intent is with the property, you know, the stop work order will stand. So there won't be any further action on the property.
How do we keep up with it without being a pain in the neck? In other words, understanding when that decision is made and what the property is actually classified as. I did a little homework online, but I could not figure out what the status was.
Status of
that piece of property, whether it is in fact a wetlands already, or
I'd be happy to take your contact info and have a conversation with David and put the two of you in touch with each other as well.
Yeah, I mean, David can get your email and give you postings as to what's going on and if there's any permit action coming up or anything like that. All right.
I've already had it. I want to applaud you, by the way, also for that, because that, you know, we can't be everywhere in town all the time. And as you can see here, and I drive past there a lot because I live a little further down the road, is how fast it can happen. Right. And then, you know, so it's great that you come forward like that. And I've had some conversations with, it'll also be on our agenda this month for our Conservation Board to discuss that. But that's why I raised that point earlier, too. I don't know how much this person may realize or not, the impacts they have, then they may not be looking just beyond their own property. And as you said, there is a wetland there where Dave's taking a look at it, because in the town code, it's quarter acre or more, and it's close. That area is close. So we were taking a look at it that way. I am concerned with some of the sawdust in areas that I feel are on there, but that's where I'm having the discussion with the wetlands inspector. But I can assure you that we're looking at that very seriously and taking a lot of action on that. So, okay.
Can I just repeat, at the sake of repeating, when the stormwater management meeting is and where?
Yes.
It's at the
Yes, it's
November?
at the Continental Village Clubhouse, Continental Village. It's at 8 o'clock on November 20th, all right? The wetlands inspector, who's actually, involved in this issue, will be there to discuss those kinds of issues, and also something I had brought up in the past about discharging into drains. A lot of people from here may come up right from New York City and may think things go right to a sewage treatment and don't make the connection that, only rainwater should be going down our drains, and this drains right into a lake or the Hudson River or Clove Creek, which is critical. These kinds of waterways are directly affected by that. So this is the education that I think we need to get out there to the entire town to protect our waterways. And obviously that meeting is open to the entire town, but I think it should go pretty well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Been a lot of call for it. Anyone else? Hey again, Andy.
Good. Andy Schmar from 40 Walmer Lane. Two quick questions. I mentioned at the last meeting if there might be a townwide cleanup this year, and I was just wondering whether that might happen, or if you can budget it for next spring at least, if you're about to embark upon your budget travails.
I'll check in with Sue and see. We'll take a look at the finances tomorrow. I have my doubts. Budgeting for next year, that's a potential for the spring.
Okay.
I'm constantly amazed the amount of junk that's generated. Where does it all come from,
Well,
year after year after year?
That's the point. If it's not going through this, it's going on the side of the roads, as
Right.
we all know. So I think it's, in our best interest, if at all possible, to make it happen. Secondly, the wind turbine moratorium, you're about to go into your budget season, and I don't know when the moratorium expires, but you all haven't reached the point of having draft legislation, so I just...
We're close.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Great.
We're close.
Thanks, Andy.
That's it. Good. Vacancies. Board of Assessment Review, 1. Did we advertise for that, Tina?
2 times.
Anybody? No takers?
I think we may
One woman.
All right.
About 3 weeks ago.
All right, well, let's interview. Continental Village Park District Advisory Committee, 3. That's a perennial 3, forever. I don't know what's going on.
Both vacancies will be discussed at the November 20th meeting because there will be people from Continental Village at that meeting. So they will be actually discussed then.
It would be great. I mean, it would be great to get somebody involved in that, because Mike Fallon is not going to be around forever. I mean, I hope he is, but I don't feel like I'm going to make it out of the room. Continental Village Water District Advisory Committee, 3. So that'd be great, yeah, Mike, when you have a crowd there to bring that up. Approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Highway.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Continental Village Park District.
So moved.
Oh, go ahead.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Continental Village Water District.
So moved.
All right.
My turn.
I'll take that as a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Thank you. Thanks for all your work. Thanks for coming.
Richard.